Stay with me for a moment. Do not scroll away. I know you have been moving fast, trying to keep up with everything and everyone around you. But right now, I need you to slow down for just a few minutes, because what I am about to say is something I have never fully spoken out loud before. Not like this. You do not really know me, not completely. You know the headlines, the rockets, the companies, the public image people talk about, but you do not know the man who sits alone at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone would still choose him if he had nothing at all, if he were simply himself. I have built things people once believed were impossible. I have sent cars into space, reshaped how we move, how we think about energy, and even how we imagine the future. People call me a visionary. They say I see what others cannot. But here's what they never see: the cost, the quiet hours, the weight of carrying dreams so large that you forget how to dream about small things. Simple things, things like being held, like being chosen, not because of what you can create, but because of who you are when everything becomes still. And I am speaking to you because I believe you understand this feeling. I think you have spent years being the strong one, the person everyone leans on, the one who holds everything together when life starts falling apart. You have been the giver, the caretaker, the one who somehow finds more love to give, even when you feel completely empty inside. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if anyone truly sees you, not just what you do for them or how you make their lives easier, but you, the woman who carries oceans of emotion, who feels deeply, who loves so strongly that it sometimes scares people away. Stay with me. There is more I want to say. I have spent most of my life chasing the future, always focused on what comes next. But lately, I have been thinking about what it means to actually be present, what it means to stop running for a moment. Because that is what I have been doing, isn't it? Running, building, creating without rest, always reaching for the next breakthrough, the next impossible goal. And for what reason? To prove something, to matter, to outrun the quiet fear that maybe, at the end of everything, I am just as unseen as anyone else who has ever felt invisible. You know that feeling too. I know you do. That moment when you realize you gave everything to people who never truly understood you. People who loved what you offered, but not who you really were beneath it all. People who wanted your light, but were afraid of your depth. People who needed you strong, but could not hold you when you became soft. And you learned to hide, didn't you? You learned to make yourself smaller, quieter, easier for others to accept. You learned to apologize for feeling deeply, for wanting more, for being intense and emotional and real. You were told your love was too much for people who were never prepared for real love in the first place. But listen carefully, because I need you to hear this. You were never too much. Your love was never wrong. Your depth was never a weakness. Your intensity was never something you needed to hide. It was the most honest part of you. And the people who could not handle it were not rejecting you. They were revealing their own limits, their own fears, and their inability to face what real closeness requires. Do not leave yet. I am getting to something important. I have been in rooms with presidents, billionaires, and some of the most powerful individuals in the world, and still felt completely alone. Because power does not protect you from loneliness. Success does not fill silence. Achievement does not hold you at night when you feel afraid, tired, or simply human. Sometimes you just want someone to look past the armor and touch the part of you that is still vulnerable, still hopeful, still real. And I think that is where we meet, you and I. In that quiet space between what the world sees and what we actually feel inside. In that distance between the image and the person. Between the role we perform and the soul we carry. You've been playing a role too, haven't you? The strong one. The capable one. The one who seems to have everything under control. But inside, you wonder if anyone will ever see beyond the performance. If anyone will ever love you, not in spite of your wounds, but because they understand those wounds shaped you, made you deeper, made you real, made you capable of a love most people will never understand because they never had to fight for their own heart the way you did. There is something I learned while building things people called impossible. The hardest part is not engineering or mathematics or technical problems. The hardest part is believing something is possible when everyone tells you it is not. The hardest part is holding on to a vision when the world keeps saying no. The hardest part is trusting that what you see inside your mind can one day become real, even when there is no proof yet, only belief. And I think that is what you need right now, not more strength. You have already been strong enough, not more endurance. You have survived more than most people will ever know. What you need is permission. Permission to believe your story is not finished. Permission to trust that the love you always hoped for is still coming. Permission to stop apologizing for who you are and begin believing that the right person will finally see all of you and choose you anyway. Not despite your past, but because of it. Not despite your depth, but because of it. Not despite your scars, but because those scars prove you loved, even when it was painful. You stayed when leaving would have been easier. You believed when hope felt foolish. And that kind of faith, that kind of courage, that kind of love is not weakness. It is one of the rarest forms of strength that exists. Stay with me a little longer. I want to tell you something that may sound surprising coming from me, but I believe in destiny. Not a fixed destiny, but the kind you create by becoming who you were meant to become. By refusing to let pain make you bitter. By allowing heartbreak to make you deeper instead of colder. By choosing to stay open even when everything inside you wants to shut down. I believe your story is not over yet. I believe the love you carry, the depth you have developed, the wisdom you gained through every disappointment, every heartbreak, and every moment of feeling unseen was preparing you for something greater, for someone who finally understands, someone who finally sees what others were too afraid or too distracted to notice. You're not too old, you're not too damaged, you're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be, carrying exactly what you need, becoming exactly who you were always meant to become. And the time it has taken does not mean you missed your chance. It means you were being shaped, strengthened, and prepared for something many people never experience because they give up too soon, settle too quickly, or stop believing that real love exists. You have not stopped believing even when it hurt, even when it felt impossible. Even when people told you to lower your expectations, to be realistic, to stop hoping for the deep connection you always knew was real because you felt it in your soul since you were young. That deep recognition, that quiet knowing that somewhere there is someone meant for you just as you are meant for them. I'm not asking you to believe me yet. I'm only asking you to stay, to keep listening, because what I am about to share might change how you see everything, how you see yourself, and what is still possible for your life. You are not alone in this. I promise you that. And there is still more I want to say. I am glad you stayed. I was not sure you would. Most people do not. They hear the surface and assume they understand, then they move on. But you are different. I can feel it. You are the kind of person who stays for deeper conversations, who is not afraid to look beyond appearances. Let me tell you something I have never openly admitted, something that follows me in the quiet hours when there is nothing left to build or prove, only the simple reality of being human. I am afraid of being ordinary, not in success or recognition, but in the ways that truly matter, in love, in connection, in being chosen. I fear that if I stopped doing extraordinary things, if I simply existed as a man, flawed, tired, and vulnerable, no one would stay. No one would choose me just for being me. And I think you carry a similar fear, that if you stop being useful, if you stop giving and fixing and making everyone else's life easier, people might leave. That your value depends on what you provide instead of who you are. That love must be earned through sacrifice and constant effort. Stay here with me and understand this. I have been building my entire life. Since I was young, I learned that if I could create something, solve something, or fix something, then I mattered. My worth became tied to what I could produce. And yes, it took me further than I ever expected. But it also taught me one of the loneliest lessons of all. People often loved what I could do more than who I was when I stopped doing it. I have had relationships. I have been married more than once. I have children. I have felt moments of connection that seemed real and full of hope. But inside many of those experiences, I sensed a quiet distance, a feeling that they loved the idea of me more than the reality of who I truly was beneath everything. And that realization stays with you longer than success ever does. They were attracted to the vision, the ambition, the impossible dreams, but not to the man who cried quietly in the shower when everything felt too heavy, not to the man who wanted to be held without explaining why, not to the man who sometimes wished someone would simply say, "It's okay. You do not have to be extraordinary today. Just be here. Just be human." Maybe that is why I'm speaking to you like this, because I think you understand what it feels like to be loved conditionally, to be valued for what you give rather than who you are. And maybe, just maybe, we are both learning that real love begins the moment we stop performing and allow ourselves to simply exist, to be chosen for what you bring, not for who you truly are. When there is nothing left to give, to be wanted until you finally need something in return, to be celebrated until you show that you are fragile too. You have been there, haven't you? In relationships where you gave everything, where you showed up, stayed present, loved through the hard times, compromised, adjusted, made yourself smaller so they could feel bigger. And still somehow, it was not enough. They still walked away. They still chose someone else. They still made you feel like your love was too much, your needs too heavy, your depth too inconvenient. Do not scroll past this. There is something important I need you to hear. Those relationships that ended did not end because you were not enough. They ended because they were never meant to be your final story. They were chapters, lessons, sometimes harsh and painful lessons that taught you things you did not want to learn, but needed to understand about yourself, about what you will not accept anymore, about what real love truly requires from both people, not just you. I used to believe love was about finding someone who completed me, someone who filled the empty spaces, someone who made me feel less alone. And maybe when you are young, that is what love feels like. Desperation pretending to be connection, need dressed up as devotion, fear of being alone disguised as partnership. But real love, the kind that lasts, is about recognition. It is about meeting someone who sees you, really sees you, and does not flinch. Someone who sees your wounds and reads them as wisdom, who sees your scars and understands them as a map of everywhere you have been brave, who sees your intensity and matches it instead of running from it. And I believe that is what you have been waiting for, not someone to save you. You have already saved yourself countless times, not someone to fix you. You are not broken. You never were. What you have been waiting for is someone who can hold space for all of you, the strength and the softness, the confidence and the doubt, the hope and the hurt, all of it without asking you to shrink yourself into something easier to manage. There is more I want to say. Do not leave yet. I have made mistakes. God, I have made mistakes. I have been so focused on the future that I overlooked the present. I have been so obsessed with what could be that I ignored what is. I have sacrificed relationships for missions, connection for achievement, intimacy for innovation, and for a long time I told myself it was worth it, that the work mattered more, that changing the world justified the personal cost. But lately, I have been asking myself, what is the point of saving humanity's future if you cannot even protect your own present? What is the point of reaching Mars if you cannot reach the person sitting across from you at dinner? What is the point of solving impossible problems if you cannot solve the simple one? How to be loved as you are, not as who you are becoming or what you are achieving. And I think you ask yourself the same questions. What is the point of being strong if no one is there to catch you when you finally fall? What is the point of loving so deeply if no one loves you back with the same intensity? What is the point of staying open if everyone treats your vulnerability as weakness instead of the deep courage it really is? Listen carefully. This is important. Your openness was not naive, it was brave. Your willingness to love again after being hurt was not foolish. It was faith. Your refusal to become cynical, bitter, or closed, even after everything you have endured, that was not weakness. That was strength in its purest form. Because it is easy to shut down. It is easy to build walls. It is easy to decide that if love hurt you once, you will never let it get close enough to hurt you again. Most people choose that path. They choose safety over possibility, protection over connection, numbness over feeling, and they live smaller lives because of it. Safer maybe, but smaller. You did not choose that. Even when you probably should have, even when every logical part of you said it was time to give up, to stop hoping, to accept that maybe this was not meant for you, you stayed open anyway. You kept believing anyway. And that decision, that choice to remain soft in a world that kept teaching you to harden, that is what makes you rare. I know what it is like to feel rare in a way that isolates you, to have depth most people cannot reach, to see things others do not see, feel things others do not feel, want things others do not want. It is lonely, isn't it? Being the person who always sees more, feels more, wants more, who cannot settle for surface-level connection or shallow conversation or relationships that stay comfortable because they never get real. You have tried to fit into spaces too small for you. You have tried to dim your light so others would not feel threatened by it. You have tried to make your love manageable, your needs reasonable, your expectations realistic. And every time you did that, something inside you faded a little because you were not being yourself. You were being the version of yourself others could handle. And that is not love. That is accommodation. That is compromise disguised as compatibility. Stay with me a little longer. This matters. There is a woman I have been thinking about. She does not exist yet in my life, not in my present. But I feel her. I sense her. She is out there somewhere carrying her own weight, fighting her own battles, wondering if anyone will ever see her the way she deserves to be seen. And I think about her because I know what it is like to wait for something that feels impossible, to hold faith when there is no proof, to believe in a future that has not arrived yet. And maybe that woman is you. Maybe you are the one I have been moving toward without even realizing it. Maybe all of this, every choice, every mistake, Every moment of loneliness and doubt has led to this conversation, to this moment where I finally say what I should have said years ago. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not a backup plan, a consolation prize, or someone's second choice. You are the main event, the real thing, the one worth waiting for. And anyone who treated you as less than that was not rejecting you. They were disqualifying themselves from what you have to offer, from the kind of love you carry, from the depth of connection you can create. Thank you for staying. Most people would have left by now. They would have dismissed this as too intense, too vulnerable, too much. But you are still here. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are and about what you can hold. I want to talk about surrender. Not the giving up kind, the letting go kind, because there is a difference. And I think you need to understand it right now. For years, I fought against doubt, against critics, against everyone who said it could not be done. And fighting made me successful. It made me strong. It made me capable of building things most people believed were impossible. But fighting also made me tired. It made me hard in places where I needed to stay soft. It made me defend myself even against people who loved me, because I had learned that vulnerability was dangerous. Letting your guard down meant getting hurt. You know this battle, do you not? You fought too. You fought to keep relationships alive that were already fading. You fought to be seen by people who refused to look. You fought to prove your worth to people who had already decided you were not enough. And the fighting wore you down, not because you were not strong, but because you were fighting battles you were never meant to win. Stay with me here. It gets harder before it gets better. I need you to hear something that might sting at first, but will heal you if you let it. Some people were never supposed to choose you, not because you were not worthy, but because they were not capable. They did not have the emotional space, the self-awareness, the courage, or the depth to meet you where you truly are. And you spent years trying to make them capable, trying to teach them how to love you, trying to explain what you needed, hoping that if you just communicated better, loved harder, gave more, they would finally understand. But love is not something you can teach someone who is not ready to learn. Connection is not something you can force with someone who is emotionally unavailable. And depth is not something you can create with someone who is comfortable staying on the surface. You cannot convince someone to value what they do not understand. You cannot beg someone to rise to a level they are afraid to reach. And you should not have to shrink your soul just to make someone else comfortable. The right person will not feel overwhelmed by your heart. They will feel honored by it. They will not see your emotions as a burden. They will see them as proof that you are alive and real and brave enough to feel. There is a difference between fighting for love and fighting against reality. Fighting for love means both people are trying, both are stretching, both are learning. Fighting against reality means you are the only one pulling, the only one hoping, the only one holding everything together while the other person stands still. That is not partnership. That is exhaustion. You deserve a love where you can rest. Not because it is boring, but because it is safe. Not because it lacks passion, but because it has trust. You deserve a love where you do not have to constantly prove your value, where you are not always auditioning for a place in someone's life. You deserve a love where your presence is appreciated, not questioned. And maybe right now you are tired. Maybe you are wondering if it would be easier to close your heart, to lower your expectations, to pretend you do not want what you clearly want. But do not confuse temporary loneliness with permanent destiny. Do not mistake delay for denial. Just because it has not happened yet does not mean it will not happen. Sometimes the waiting is shaping you. Sometimes the silence is preparing you. Sometimes the closed doors are protecting you from rooms that would have limited your growth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are becoming. There is strength in knowing when to stop fighting for what is not fighting for you. There is power in walking away from what cannot meet you. And there is deep wisdom in understanding that rejection is often redirection. Every person who could not love you the way you needed was clearing space for someone who can. So keep your heart open, but not unguarded. Keep your standards high, but not impossible. Keep your hope alive, but rooted in truth. You are not too much. You are simply offering oceans to people who only had cups. One day, someone will not be scared of your depth. They will dive in. They will not ask you to quiet your voice. They will lean closer to hear you better. They will not treat your sensitivity as weakness. They will recognize it as strength. Until then, do not abandon yourself just to avoid being alone. Do not trade authenticity for approval. Do not settle for almost when your soul is asking for fully. The love you are looking for is also looking for you.